Welcome to the Zero Trust Journey podcast, created by cybersecurity practitioners for those walking the same path. We share real stories, hard lessons, and hard-won victories from the field, so you can sidestep the pitfalls and deliver the wins. Grab your coffee, tune out the buzzwords, and let's get into the real story, right here on the Zero Trust Journey podcast.
All right, welcome to another session of Zero Trust Journey podcast. My name is Victor Monga. I am your host of the day and also producer of this podcast. Today, we are joined by Ken Yao, founder of Cybers, the cybersecurity marketplace on a mission to make cybersecurity or security as free and accessible as possible for every company. That's very close to my heart. The whole reason we started Virtue Testing Foundation for exactly that reason. So we are aligned on that, Ken. Ken's journey blends deep technical expertise, so he can go as deep as possible when it comes to geek talk, with strategic leadership, holding a master's in cybersecurity from NYU, and executive credentials from Harvard Business School in disruptive strategy and negotiation. I got to ask, what is disruptive strategy and negotiation?
Well, I think negotiation is all about understanding what both party wants and where's the win-win, right? Like, how do you kind of find and maximize that? Or just really quickly being able to walk away from a situation where there is no win-win. Disruptive strategy is based off of Clayton Christensen and the concept of, hey, incumbents get old and there's always something new and kind of exciting to do. That's the short version of, hey, I spent my career in consulting and I'm building a company leveraging AI and community to change the way that buyers find the right solutions for them in cybersecurity. And like you said, as free and accessible as possible. I think the world's changing quite a bit.
I like it. You have also led Cyber Fusion Center at Booz Allen, guided strategy at Deep Seas, and advised multiple startups at intersection of AI and cybersecurity. I do have a question. What is Cyber Fusion Center, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of this conversation. I feel the same way about Cyber Fusion as I do about Zero Trust. Frankly speaking, it's marketing. So it's a great way for us to talk to our customers about the pain points and the things that they need. But at the end of the day, it's marketing. And if you really, really want to ask me a joke, what's next gen Cyber Fusion?
Add NG next to it. Got it.
Exactly.
All right. So, most of my guests, they have bought into Zero Trust, or they understand Zero Trust, or I should say they are Zero Trust advocates or evangelists. So while many in the industry embrace Zero Trust without question, you bring a different lens, one that's shaped by years of building cybersecurity programs in the real world, where frameworks must compete with business realities, because GRC is your jam, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute here. Ken, your career spans technical implementation, strategic leadership, and startup advising. Which experiences most shaped your current views on how organizations should approach security?
I love the fact that it is a journey. So I believe Zero Trust. I believe all of cybersecurity is a journey. I believe in my career journey as well. So it's a fun set of questions. I think it's been an evolving definition for me, right? So understanding the needs of customers and being able to, again, turn that into action for them and build their program. I think that's the truth of security itself as a whole. So really, In my latest role for Cybers, we're working with customers who need cybersecurity, but who don't have enough resources. And I mean, it's kind of funny to say that because that's like everyone in cybersecurity. So really, it's this continued evolution and understanding of how can we make cybersecurity more free and more accessible. And yeah, like as much as I understand Zero Trust from a technical requirement standpoint or from a journey standpoint, and yes, it looks nice on the charts, I actually don't think I think most people don't need to care. And
you have been very clear on that. You're not fully convinced by Zero Trust as it's typically sold or marketed. Where does that skepticism come from? Is it the Zero Trust definitions, principles, or is just how it's marketed?
I mean, it comes from the years and years of experience negotiating millions of dollars in contracts with customers where you sign them up for Cyber Fusion. And then at the end of the day, there's always a pushback and you always cut something. So where do you cut? What do you remove? And what does it actually mean? So that's where you get down to the brass tacks of here's what I'm actually doing for you. Here's what I'm actually doing for you. That's where it's like, okay, buzzwords aside, yes, they're good for strategy. They're good for vision. Buzzwords aside, we need to do these actual hard things like, managing your firewalls better. We need to be implementing more visibility and deploying your EDR everywhere. We need to be working on email security and awareness. So it comes up again, but that's where I think the wording around zero trust, and when you think about marketing and the long-term mission of cybersecurity, year over year, contract over contract, renewal over renewal, that's where words like zero trust don't make it in my contract.
Sure. Yeah. And Ken, again, this is going to be very open, candid conversation this episode, unlike many of others we have done it. Let me ask you this. When it comes to strategy, when it comes to like having a North Star for organizations, if not zero trust, then what is it? What would you recommend? If I were to come to you and I manage a security program and I would ask you, hey, Ken, I need a strategy, not the concepts, not the tactical plan, but I need something that I can anchor, I can hold on to, I can look at as a North Star. Am I going to achieve it overnight? Absolutely not. It's going to be a continuous journey. Even after me, people are going to continue. But so what does the North Star look like for you, or what would you recommend?
I think it's a benchmark. So I'll answer this in kind of two parts of the answer, right? Of like, number one, I'll say that what's really difference between zero trust and Ronald Reagan's trust but verify. I think it's open to interpretation. I get why people like to say and simplify it down to zero trust, but I think all we're taking out is politeness, which is kind of funny to me. The best way I can say of a benchmark, and the analogy I would use, is when you're being chased by a bear, you don't have to outrun the bear, you outrun the other people around you. And that's really the key for most companies in that need cybersecurity. It's about knowing what your peers are doing and knowing what the regulations and the requirements are for you and staying ahead of that. And it is a journey, right? So it's always a journey. I guess you're running a marathon against this bear.
Yeah. And I know you have deep expertise in GRC. So let's talk about that. When you say compliance or GRC in a way, in general, like governance, risk, and compliance, you think compliance is enough? If someone is meeting the compliance, is that enough for security for the organizations?
No, I think it's definitely the conversation. So I always describe it as GRC capital letters and GRC lowercase letters. So when it comes to compliance big letter, that's talking about what's regulations are applying to us, where like if we don't do it in financial services, the Federal Reserve is going to come and shut us down, right? Like to that extent, or whatever regulating agency specific for the case of that company. Little compliance is the small things that you do of like, hey, here are the things I need to do as a company, but those are more tied to risk or like as a team and being able to say, okay, we're doing our security things. We understand it. We're going through the list of, NIST, ISO, whatever to the nth degree necessary, but it should all be in the context of your business and your needs. And again, that's why the security journey to me is all about the long-term marathon, the building that long-term trust. And my position on words like zero trust is, look, short-term marketing is short-term like sight. You're not looking at the big picture of, we need to look into the longer term trust. It's okay. It has its place. It totally is the best way to display on a strategy slide a very complex idea in 2 words. I love that. And I love pictures, speaking to everything. But I do think when I, as a human, as a person, when I see artificial scarcity being put in front of me, like, oh, limited time only, or this is only for this, like that actually makes me lose trust. I don't know who else agrees or who else sees it that way, but like I am not a fan of those cases in marketing.
Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, what we have seen and talked to people, as you said, zero trust is a simplified way of explaining the strategy, but it also is a ripple effect from, so let's say 10, 15 years ago, everybody used to go to work. We used to have firewalls. Everything is behind the network. Not a whole lot of microservices.
Firewalls. Sorry to interrupt. All those things are still true.
Yeah. Well, we still have firewalls, but we also have almost explosion of microservices, cloud-based services, mobile apps. Everything is mobile now, right? So if I have a laptop, which is coming home now, and obviously the threats have also increased, right? So if you take what we had 20 years ago versus what we have today, the sophistication has increased with obviously the term AI. And do you think the strategy, let's say what it was, which is let's continue doing the foundations and fundamentals, which is important. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying, is that strategy still working, or would that be enough? Especially where now everything is accessible by anything, anywhere. Those I've seen some of those memes where any device, any location, any application. that scares me in a way because that means the bad guys also have that any.
Yeah.
That means they might be able to get into that. I think with zero trust, again, we are speaking two different ways of explaining the same thing, but at the same time, zero trust explains that strategy where if it's any, I'm going to have to put a little bit more strict rules around how this any is going to function in my environment. Convenience over security, we talked about, right? So now I'm interested in hearing your opinions on that one.
No, it's a great point, right? Like the world is definitely evolving and the threats are more complex than they used to be. And we have new solutions that are evolving in how they address them, right? Again, my point isn't that zero trust isn't a thing. I just think it's funny because it's really just a rephrasing of trust but verify minus the politeness of it, right? Like the constant need to check and understand identities and being able to verify something is correct, whether it's an identity or it's a connection or it's any sort of data exchange. Totally great points from a security standpoint. But what I think we miss out on is the opportunity to be true partners with our business, because our business and ultimately cybersecurity buyers are smart people. So when we shortcut this too much or too often to say something like a short-term statement like zero trust without explaining the long-term trust implications, without taking into account the need for businesses to be put first and before the security piece, that's where I have the issue and the challenge of it. Definitely, to your point, the needs and the challenges have evolved. And again, like those needs are evolving. We need more resources. And yet things like this type of marketing actually hold us back from getting the resources that we need because we're holding back the long-term trust that we need to build.
So I think, again, I can't speak for every vendor or everything out there. What I have seen, ideally, in a perfect world scenario, that you would start from the top, get a buy-in from executives that what is our strategy to minimize the risk, reduce that blast radius, and contain the threats. And exactly to your point, we are taking a polite way because if it's bashed on their heads, the buy-ins are difficult to get in. And again, you're in a leadership role. You know that sometimes you just get a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So this is just helping people take the medicine, which is sometimes hard. However, one piece I will say that, and I will contradict that, we're not taking any shortcut in this strategy. We are saying at the leadership and executive level that this is a strategy, but then the person, the champion for that strategy, it's their job to explain the business. Now, how does this gets executed? What is the tactical plan? There is no shortcut here. It's just at the broader level, we have a strategy. Each business partner needs to be explained what is their role in this strategy and how this will be executed. I think that's the biggest piece I have seen people missing. Zero trust, slide, got buy-in, bought a bunch of tools which has zero trust label, and off you go. We missed the whole part, and that's what you're alluding to, which is the shortcut part. And it's not actually the case. It shouldn't be the case. There should be a proper process. We are skipping the process for the sake of so we don't make any enemies again, because it's hard, because it's not just a technology. We got to start talking about people, processes first before technology, and not everybody is doing it. Does that mean strategy is bad? Does that mean the approach is bad? No, it's just not a whole lot of people following the process properly because there's no actual enforcement, if you will.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think those are all great points to it, right? And I have to admit, sometimes I live in this, a little bit of a future facing vision world from a GRC perspective, or I would call it like hearts and minds, right? So I think here's an alternative world where people understand cybersecurity, even just the basic concepts of it, or there's generally a better understanding of, hey, my business is, related to tech, related to people's data, related to privacy. And when we build it, it's already there. DevSecOps, or whatever terms you want to throw across like the board.
Sure.
What I think we need as an industry is just more trust and more awareness. So we need the chutes and ladders game of cybersecurity is the way I describe that. We need people who, whether it's at an early age or early in the careers or as part of the overall organization or like their role, to have cybersecurity ingrained into what they do. And that's the future I view of it, of like, so you described the world of top-down leadership for cybersecurity. And I believe that helps too, right? Especially when you can really translate it between the board and, the executive team, management, and the different business.
Sure.
In fact, that's been my job for quite a while of, building out board reports. But actually what I see, that's not actually what happens, right? Like the board asks a question once in a while about cybersecurity, and that's what kind of something. So there is always an appendix.
Which is the best case, Ken, right? In my humble opinion, which is the best case, because if board is not asking a whole lot of questions, that means the leader who's in charge of that program is doing their job right. If they are concerned and asking questions, that means there is something to worry about. So if there are fewer questions, well, the first problem might be the board is not invested in cybersecurity to begin with, which is a bigger problem. Not going to address that here. However, if they are aware of the cybersecurity and the program is going well and they're asking less questions, in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. If they're not asking questions, that means they are comfortable and confident in the abilities in the program, how it's being run.
Yeah, I think there's a healthy mix to it, right? Of like, hey, we're demonstrating confidence in our program from kind of the team, the CISO, and on up into the board. The conversations do come up because, as we see in the news again, and as threats become more complex, cybersecurity, privacy, all of these components, AI, are all becoming the topics of mind today. So the questions do come up. But again, the reality is cybersecurity is a risk that is meant to help, protect your business. But the key thing is you still have business, right? So the board should ask whatever questions are on their mind that meets the business need, of which sometimes is cybersecurity based on whatever's trending and whatever policies are
100%.
and whatever's going on. So that's the reality of cybersecurity. And again, I see this world where we focus on the long-term trust. We focus on building out the broader awareness of the industry into...
And we need that. We need someone to think about it.
Yeah, and I still love words like zero trust. And again, I'm a shill for cyber fusion. It's my guilty pleasure. Zero trust, GRC, it's all my guilty pleasures. I love talking about this stuff. But I do think we need to move the needle towards that long-term trust. How do we have the same conversation and not try to kind of dumb it down, because our buyers and businesses are becoming more intelligent about cybersecurity?
Let me ask you this, Ken. When you say we need to build towards the trust, are you talking about the human trust, the trust among the human for business? Or are you talking about trust in the digital systems so that if I am logging in, the organization trusts that I will do it right?
Yeah, that's a great and very profound question. When I say trust, I guess I mean trust in the system, right? So the system of the company, of the people, of the identities, the non-human identities of of all your third parties who help enable your thing.
Sure.
Ultimately, even at a societal level, that's like my type of personality. But in this sense of zero trust, I mean about the system of what we're building and how that works and drives the engine of the business, including...
Let me ask you this follow-up now, which is going to be a very cynical question, actually. Are you saying that no person or no employee will be disgruntled, or no employee will ever try to steal intellectual property? Everyone will play by the rules, by the book, and they will do the things right?
Trust but verify, like I'm going to check everyone and I'm going to make sure everything's okay. There's no lag between that. I don't mean that in any way. I mean, automate it as much as possible. Throw the zero trust into all the products out there. But again, I don't really know what that truly means. All we're saying is we're just making sure that things are who they say they are, and identity and authentication is going as lightning fast as possible, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's you said it yourself, that verifying and evaluating every transaction, what they're doing, how they're doing, access. They're not getting any necessary access. When they need access, they get access to perform the task, and then that's about it. Then you don't have any unnecessary access. So flat networks used to be a thing, right? We all have seen it, where you go in from accounting, you can hop into sales from machine floor. I'm talking about here like a warehouse style company. From the shop floor, same network is used for your Wi-Fi, same network is used for accounting, same network for your servers, same network for your databases. Like it's almost /8 with the 10 subnet, right? With zero trust, we're saying let's compartmentalize, let's microsegment. Now, within microsegmentation, if I am a shop floor mechanic, I might not be able to go to the database where the sales records or things are put in. So that even if accidentally I was compromised, I can't go there. So that's one, microsegmentation. Then I need to present my identity. That's second. Then the third is when I'm accessing applications, I don't have access to all the applications. I have access to what I need to do my jobs. You're right. It's at the end of the day, the concept is trust but verify, but the strategy is zero trust, which is whatever happens in the digital world, whatever happens within the wires of the computers, we're just not trusting it because we take implicit trust before zero trust. So We're not saying people are bad. We're not saying we don't trust people. Zero trust is strategy for the digital world. It's not for human terms. So I think you and we're speaking the same language, two different opinions or two different ways of explaining the same thing, I think.
I think so. I mean, again, I'm a security practitioner, right? Like my job is to advocate for security, but also I see that job and that role evolving so much, like the journey of a CISO or the journey of whatever else.
Totally.
Like, hey, we have to be partners to our business because ultimately we're tied to our business and what we're trying to enable. So I propose the alternative of rather saying, hey, we have a zero trust platform or our products are all zero trust enabled. Just say we have a secure platform, right? Of like, okay, we're good. We've done it.
Call it whatever.
Practices. Call it whatever works for your business, right? And ideally, again, at like the board level conversation, you're saying we have this amazing business platform, business machine going, and it's secure. And that's it, right? Like, and then underneath it has all the checklists, all the NIST, all the compliance, all the things behind it. But I think at the leadership level, it's just about tying to the business and being able to articulate things very clearly and build the long-term trust by demonstrating that you're doing all the right things, right? Like all of the controls plus all of the third-party testing, all of the, throw everything at it and backup and resilience.
We'll take it.
Make sure I didn't miss anything.
All right, as we're wrapping up, so Ken, since you live in future or you think about future, looking ahead 5 years, will we still be debating about zero trust? So that's one. Or will we be having or moved on to something else entirely? What do you think? Like if you were to predict, are we changing the words or maybe keeping the same principles or maybe AI is going to play some role in it? Give me your opinion on this matter.
I think it's too late for us, man. Like I'm on the AI side of things where, Victor, you and I talking about this stuff. It's going to be our AI avatars talking to each other about this stuff and debating it. And then our AI followers, debating this and like creating stuff.
Sure. Wow.
The words won't matter, right? It's going to all be in some sort of MCP type of AI language communicating to each other and like seeing what's going to be like the top things out there. So not to, I do think the term makes sense for where we are today. And that's probably my biggest endorsement of saying zero trust. I don't think it makes sense for the grand future where we are all on the same page and security is understood and it's a solved problem. I think this industry is actually becoming a solved problem. Even though threats are getting more complex and mature, we have more and more resources today powered by AI, powered by our understanding of balancing and managing resources. It's the same thing as anything else that requires prioritization and managing resources. We'll figure it out.
Totally. Ken, thank you so much. All of our listeners, if you were inspired by what Ken just said today, follow him on LinkedIn and we'll put his LinkedIn URL in the notes as well. Once again, Ken, you're my first guest where we talk about why zero trust, the words or the name doesn't make sense. So I appreciate your insights and thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap on this zero trust journey. Now it's your turn. Step into the spotlight, share your story, and be part of the journey. Subscribe to Zero Trust Journey on LinkedIn for the latest news, events, and giveaways. Until next time.